stand in your Tadasana. I want you to have your strap. So we're going to work a little bit extra on the shoulders with this Tadasana. So as usual, I'll just slip your strap over your shoulder a minute so you don't have to hold it. Stand in your Tadasana, balls of the big toes together. Stretch your toes apart, heels back. Press the heels down and feel the lift come up through your trunk, up through your legs, through your pelvis, through your trunk. So I always feel like a little plant growing out of the ground. It just works from the bottom to the top. Let that lift be even and equal. In the front, in the back, in the left, in the right. Let your shoulders move back and down. Now firm up your arms, straighten your elbows, and lengthen your neck. And allow your head to adjust back on its axis. Breathe slow, steady, even, a smooth breath. Now then, revolve your arms at the shoulder and roll the shoulder down more. Lift the chest more. Extend the arms more as you bring them up. The legs are like posts. And draw all the way up. Yes, this t-shirt was a little too short. And then flex at the wrist and come down. Now, I want you to take your strap. I want you to adjust your strap so and put it right above your elbow and adjust it so that your hands, if the strap wasn't preventing it, your arms could come right by your side. Okay? So arms are shoulder width apart. And measure that from your upper arm, not your forearm. Then back to Tadasana. Press your heels down. Lift up through your legs. Pelvis nice, firm. Adjust your trunk, lift. Up through the neck. Extend your arms and draw your shoulders back into the socket. It's a different direction. Shoulders go back into the socket and down. Trunk is steady. Arms are extended, pressing into the belt. Norman, make your belt more narrow. And put it above your elbow. And begin to bring your arms up. Now this belt is going to hit you in the forehead. It's just, it is. But deal with that action for just a moment. Hit your arms out into the belt. Lift your shoulders up more. And feel the connection between your legs, pelvis, trunk, shoulders pulling down, arms pulling up, neck, and even head. Because we have the handy little belt pressing on our forehead. And breathe. And then come down. Even though I do Tadasana a lot, every day, many times, whatever, there are times when the mind gets unruly. And it's a little hard to focus. And what I find is we learn these techniques in yoga practice. So for me, when I was able to finally get, I'll go sideways and you'll see, when I was able to get this right at my forehead, then suddenly I could really feel everything connect. And I could pay better attention and I was more mindful. So look for these kinds of situations as we practice, because it won't be the same for everybody. Some of you will be so annoyed by this belt on your nose that you're just like, I don't think so. That's just fine. We're all different. But look for things, and I try to point out what works for me, but you still have to look for what works for you. Okay. Then we're going to work on that shoulder to the wall thing. So you don't need your belt right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take several different approaches to this. We're going to start from a couple of different angles. So the first thing we're going to do is start with our shoulder maybe a foot or so from the wall. So you're going to need a wall or a bookcase or something that you can hold on to. Maybe a 1.5 feet. Okay, give yourself some room away from the wall and work on your shoulders. And work on your posture. So we're in Tadasana. We're rolling our trunk away from the wall. We're extending that arm, taking the shoulder down. And that should be a pretty good stretch. And notice where you're feeling that stretch. Okay, let's change sides. So find a distance from the wall where you can operate easily. Well, I wouldn't say easily, but you can manage it. So the arm is out, shoulders down. Get Tadasana, roll your trunk away from the wall, not so far to the middle of the room yet, just get a nice stretch in that armpit, shoulder, side of the body. Keep a breath slow and steady. All right, let's release that. Now, from where you started, move into the wall, where you're just about touching the wall, maybe just 6-8 inches. Again, you have to adjust this to where you can do something. If you need more space, you take it. Lift up through your trunk, roll that shoulder down, and roll your trunk toward the middle of the room. Elbow is straight. This feels slightly different from the first time. Number one, because it's the second time we're doing it. But number two, there's a different angle on the arm. Change sides. Get your general position, then improve it, rolling that shoulder down first, because that's hard to do later on. Roll your shoulder down first. You can improve it later on. Straighten your arm, lift your trunk, roll your trunk away from the wall. And release that. Now, I was feeling a big stretch on all of those, but now I'm going to say, put your shoulder on the wall. Okay, so put your shoulder on the wall. Take that hand back. Get your feet close to the wall. And whether you can do much more than that, that's all right. You work at that. Roll that shoulder down. Lift your chest up. Shoulder at the wall. And begin to turn your trunk away from the wall. And what I find interesting here is that had I not done this before and known better, I would have thought this would probably make my arm fall off because I was getting plenty of stretch before. But indeed, it's different. So change. Get the shoulder to the wall, roll that shoulder down. It's further to the wall for me on this side. How about you? And then lift up and begin to turn your trunk away from the wall. It's a different stretch. Breathe. And release that. Back to Tadasana. Let your shoulders come into a settled place. It's sort of tempting to just think about the shoulders, but let's think about our feet, legs, up through the trunk. And settle. Urdhva Hastasana. Arms up. So hit the upper arm in. Imagine how it was with the belt. And go up. Arms back by your ears, elbows straight. Breathe, soften the rib cage. Arms up. And flex at the wrist. Push the wrist to the ceiling and extend out and down. Nice. So I hope that was an interesting experiment for you. Class, the way it's typically taught in the end is the shoulder is at the wall. I think it's an interesting experience to work into it and see the difference. Okay, so now I'm going to sit in Virasana. So now you can have all kinds of props if you need them. Some of you will be much happier putting a blanket on the floor under your legs and out to the ankle. And you can remember how I've taught you that the edge of the blanket could be right at your ankle, which can take a little stress off of your foot. So this can help if you have ankle problems, if you have foot cramps, this can help a little bit. You can sit on a block. You can put a block in between your ankles and sit on that. You can also do this sitting in a chair. Does anybody need to see the chair? I showed it last time. I think everybody's down and fine. Okay. So we're going to sit in Virasana, spread the toes out, take your hands back. It depends on how much of a height you're sitting on as to whether you can put your, say, your knuckles or your fingertips on your foot or not. And what part of your foot? For me, because I'm sitting on my heels, I like to make my hand like, the knuckles, makes it just a little longer and stronger, and press down on the metatarsals. That's the part of your foot where your toes attach. Because that's where I tend to cramp. And so that helps that. You may be able to touch your heels. Wherever you can touch, and if you can't touch, you could get a couple of blocks, one on either side. Because touching something back there helps you lift your trunk. Now, we're going to go through some experiments. This is going to be upper body, upper arm kind of strength. We're going to lean forward. You're going to take your knees apart, come forward and stretch your arms forward as far as possible. So be sure to take your knees apart so your trunk can come down in between. Then with your hands, and you can put your hands on blocks as well. If this is too far for you, you can put your hands on blocks. Push the floor and push your hips back down. If your hips came up, push the floor to push your hips back down. Then with whatever success you've achieved, sort of firm the abdomen. We've talked about this upper outer thigh and hip area. Draw that inward and begin to release your trunk forward without allowing the hips to come forward. Now then, keeping the elbows in beside the body, you're going to draw yourself forward, keeping your face close to the floor. Elbows in, draw your face forward, come all the way forward, let your thighs and your pubic bone go down. Elbows go in, lift your chest. Then hips go up. Press yourself back, toes go together, knees are apart. Sit back on your heels, give a push. Firm up through the pelvis. Lengthen the trunk forward, shoulders retract. Then as you inhale, get yourself ready. As you exhale, draw yourself forward. As you inhale, thighs and pubis down, lift the chest, roll the shoulders back and down, keep breathing. And come up. Sit back, toes together. Now that's going well for you. On the next one, you can hold your trunk up higher, and it would be a modified upward dog, so the thighs and the pubis are off the floor. If you want to continue with what we did, then just do that again. It's pretty good. Inhale forward. Exhale forward. Inhale, lift. Tighten up your glutes, lift your chest. Exhale, come back. For some people, this is easier, for some, it's harder. Take an inhale, get ready. Exhale. Elbows in, lift. Inhale. Exhale back. One more. Take an inhale. Exhale, extend forward. Elbows in. Lift. Chest up, shoulders down. Glutes firm. Hold it. And back. Walk your hands in. Sit in Virasana. Draw your knees in. Now we're going to do downward dog with the heels at the wall. So turn yourself so that your heels are going to be at the wall. It's always tricky the first time for me to know how far from the wall I should be. So I measure my foot at the wall, flex it and bring it forward and try it out. And then get ready to do the pose. So take a moment, get yourself settled into the right distance. so that your heels, the back of your heels, not the bottom, are touching the wall. Then walk your hands forward. Lift yourself up. Get up very high off your shoulders, very high off your hips. Begin to extend back. Back of the heels touch the wall. Now, from the hands, lift up through the shoulders. Lift up through the trunk. Remember the outer armpit goes toward the floor. Now draw back into your hips. Draw back into your thighs. Press your heels into the wall and breathe. Now place your feet flat on the floor and walk your hands to your feet. Bring your feet a little forward of the wall or you won't be able to stand up. Move your feet away from the wall and stand up and walk in. That's kind of fun. It's another one of those, one of the reasons we use props in Iyengar yoga is to bring our mind to the point we're trying to learn. And one of the points, one of the major points for downward dog is use of the legs. It's nothing anybody should know walking in the door. It's something we have to learn. All right, so here we go again. I'm practicing getting up and down without hands. You can too, it's just extra fun. All right, up you go. Find your distance. Back of the heel at the wall. From the hands, press the knuckles down. Up through the wrists, up through the arms. Straighten your elbows. Into the shoulders. Outer armpits down. Extend through the shoulders, through the trunk. Lift your abdomen. Stretch your hips toward the wall. Stretch your legs toward the wall. Press the wall with your heels and breathe. And then come down. Okay, now we're going to need the strap again in a loop. Going to do a Supta Pada Angushtasana, laying down big toe actually pose. Just if you had been doing yoga for your whole entire life, you would probably be able to do this without a strap and hold your big toe. But we are not those people. So we're going to lay down with the left foot, well, both feet at the wall. Okay, lay down with both feet. Let me talk you through this first, and you can watch for a second. Have your belt by your right hand. So we're going to lay down with our feet at the wall. Knees are going to be bent, not too much bent, but bent. I'll show you mine in just a second. So you're going to lay down, pull your t-shirt just for starters up. Lay yourself down. Tuck your shoulder blades under and adjust your hips. Now put your feet flat on the wall. I didn't give enough room. All right, so you want to have your knees slightly bent when you get to the floor. And then you want to push the wall so that your legs are straight. The flesh of your hips is pulled down and the shoulder blades are pulled down firmly. This is another position that is such a relief. So get yourself to this position. And I'll watch to see how everybody's doing. Make sure you've got that nice tension between the feet pressing the wall. The thighs are down. The hip flesh is drawn down. Shoulder blades are drawn down. And then you may have to adjust your pants and your t-shirt. But make sure you get that tension. So when you lay down at first, your knees should be bent. Lay down with your knees bent first. And then push. Now you feel that. Isn't that yummy? It puts everything where it should be. Everything's all tucked in and nice. All right. So now, the object of the game is to pay attention to the part that's not moving. The part that's not moving will be the leg that's on the wall. We want to bring both of our thighs to the floor, actually, but toward the floor is a good beginning. So flatten the front of the thighs, spread the back of the thighs, let that action slowly bring your back thighs down. Maintaining that. You can go ahead and get your belt around your wrist, but don't play with it yet. Slowly bring your right leg toward your chest, but pay attention to your left leg. If your attention wavered, you start again. Have your attention on your left leg as you bring the right knee up. We're not holding it, we're just bringing it up right now to make sure that our mind is fixed. Once your knee is up and your mind is fixed, can you then hold behind your knee, wide elbows, and firmly but gently encourage that thigh toward your chest, keeping the left thigh down. This is as much about your ability to pay attention to the thing that is not moving as it is about the whole rest of the pose, which can get sensational and take your attention away. So realize that that's a big part of what we're learning here. Now then, we're going to put the belt across the foot near the toes. Straighten the leg up to 90 degrees. And more flexible people have trouble with that instruction. And so do very inflexible people. So only a few people get 90 degrees right. So if I was there, I would be walking around and adjusting your foot, but I'm not. So you have to really look at your leg, press your right heel to the ceiling and pull the toes toward you. Let your right hip sink in or press into that hip socket and stretch your left leg, taking the back of that left thigh down. Your shoulder blades should be nice on the floor. Elbows are bent. Breath is normal. Now, if this is not much of a challenge for you, then at this point, you could carefully, with your mind on the left leg, pull that right leg closer to you, with the governor of your action being the left leg. The minute that left leg starts to lift to help you, regardless of what your right leg says, you stop and you adjust the left leg back up on the right leg a little. Get ready and do it again. Working your way through this so that you can learn this action. Now take the belt in your right hand. Arm is straight. Hold as close to your foot as you can. Keep your left thigh down. Take the left arm out to the side, palm up. Your right shoulder is off the floor right now, but it won't be there for long. Pressing into your left leg, firming the left thigh down. Begin to take that right leg to the right. You immediately have to draw that femur bone deeper into the socket as you go to the right. You also have to press the right shoulder down and draw that leg into the socket more and more and more. The left leg at the wall is really helpful here. Use that leg, press the wall firmly. As you take that leg down, lift your right hip up, move the belly to the left, move your right ribs up, shift that action to be more evenly toward the left. Your leg should definitely not touch the floor. That left hip stays on the floor. And breathe. Then draw that leg back up. Release your belt. Hold with two hands for a moment. Then the belt in your left hand. Now this time we have to move the left foot because we're going to take this leg across the body. So we move the left foot so that the little toe side of that foot is at the floor. The foot still presses the wall. Straighten that leg so that you feel the side of your left leg at the wall. Now, keep your right shoulder down. Extend up through your right leg. Lift up and over your left hip. Begin to take that leg more and more to the side. But at the same moment, turn your pelvis and trunk back to the right. Press out through the ball of that right big toe. Bring your leg parallel to the floor. Extend it completely and firmly. Both legs now are working. Left leg presses the wall. Roll your pelvis and your ribs and your right shoulder all back to the right. Keep breathing. Look up at the ceiling. Bring that up. Hold with both hands. Now adjust your left foot at the wall. Adjust your trunk. Now then, with the left thigh, press toward the floor. Shoulders are down. Draw your right leg towards your head, over your head. Keeping the left thigh down until you get a really good stretch in that right leg. And the left thigh stays down. And then come up. Release the belt. Bend your knee. You can clasp on the top of the knee this time if you like. Draw the knee in. Where is your left thigh? Draw it down. And then release that. You may have to adjust your hip so it's more level. In fact, scoot your hip just a little bit toward the wall so that when you put your foot back on the wall, both knees are bent a bit. Re-stretch your legs. and rest there for a moment. Now we've got to reverse it, right? Keep your mind on the right leg, right thigh. Tighten up the kneecap, draw the thigh for the front of the thigh up, descend the right thigh. Don't let that tip your body. Don't get so busy with that, the left side comes up. Begin to bend your left knee. Watch the right thigh. Pay attention to the right thigh. Don't use your hands yet. Just draw that knee up. Feel how your body reacts. Keep adjusting, paying attention to what's happening. Now, put the hands behind the knee, using your fingertips in this cupped fashion to get those tendons behind your knee, spreading. Shoulder is relaxed down. Just give it an encouragement to come to the chest, but keep the right thigh down. That's the focus. Keep breathing. Now put the belt on the left foot. Stretch that leg up to 90 degrees or less. Maybe you lost the wall, maybe you lost the thigh on the floor. Just regain it. We're all learning. It's fine. Press that whole right foot onto the wall so that your whole right leg is at attention. Maybe you can get your trunk to not realize that anything different is going on with those two legs. And as you straighten and stretch your left leg now, maintain all of that awareness. Keep a slow, steady breath. Leg is at 90 degrees. So even more flexible people start at 90 degrees. Less flexible people, get as close as you can, but straighten your leg. Make that leg work. It's counterintuitive, but if you tighten the muscles on the front, especially the front thigh, which is why we tell you to draw the kneecap up, it helps the muscles on the back of that thigh stretch. If you're feeling fine in that position, you can draw your leg closer to your head. If you're still struggling with it, then you struggle away. It's a struggle for everybody. We just have to pick our level. We should all be working. Now, maintaining the contact of the right leg, I'm going to put the belt in the left hand. Maintaining that right leg and the right side of the body down. Begin to take your left leg to the left. Press the wall with your right foot. Keep the right thigh down. You've got to draw that left femur bone into the socket. Lift up the hip and the ribs on the left side. Keep your chest open. And keep breathing. That foot should not touch the floor. There's a point beyond which you can begin to relax because you let everything go. We want to get just to that point and stop so that everything has to work. Left hip up, left ribs up, right side down. Now bring that leg up. Put the belt in your right hand. Left hand goes down. Turn your right toes to the side. So the little toe is at the floor. Begin to roll over that right hip. Your abdomen and your rib cage roll to the left as you take that left leg to the right. That right shoulder draws in and down. We'll lift that chest. You'll feel a nice stretch along the outer hip. There's something there called the iliotibial band. It's fascia. It's very useful to us. It's hard to stretch. So it's good to have it. We don't want it too tight or too loose. Both are problems. This leg should be about parallel to the floor. Keep rolling your trunk back toward the left, getting more and more of those ribs on the floor. And then bring that up. Bring your foot up, your right foot up. Adjust yourself. Hold with both hands. Bring that foot now further toward your head. Pull with the belt. Stretch the right leg. Release that. Release your belt. Bend your knee. Clasp your knee with both hands. Stretch that right thigh down. And allow that left thigh to firmly but gently be drawn toward your trunk. It's easy to draw your thigh toward your trunk if you let the right thigh go. It's more thoughtful and a little more challenging to keep the right thigh down and let that knee and thigh move inward. And then release that. Bend your knees a little, wiggle a little bit more toward the wall. Adjust your t-shirt and your pants. And then we do again, and I'm going to watch you. So press your legs now, nice and straight. So that you feel that really delicious stretching of the back body on the floor. Make your feet really active. Yeah, if you don't have a wall, make your feet very active. And then you're going to first pay attention to the left thigh, that left foot. So your back body should really be in tension with the floor, and it should feel really good. So pay attention to that left leg as you draw the right leg up. Bend the right knee with the attention on the left leg. Don't do anything with your hands just yet. Pay attention to the left leg. Then you can reach behind that knee with both hands. Pay attention to your left leg and draw that knee slowly toward the chest. But the governor is the right leg. The governor is the right leg. Now with your belt, or take the belt and stretch your legs straight. 90 degrees, absolutely perpendicular to the wall, perpendicular to the floor, parallel with the wall. I'll get there. Now, if your leg is up and you cannot straighten it, give yourself a little more room. So Lee and Mary and Marilee, give yourself more belt, take your leg further back so that you can straighten your leg. Push your heel up. That right heel keeps pressing the wall. The right thigh stays down. That looks better. Now, you're going to take that leg to the right. So put your belt, bend your knee, put your belt. Yeah, and take it to the right. I'm sorry, I've messed up your instructions. You were right, everybody was right. Yeah, your right leg is up, your left leg is down. Take that right leg to the right. Draw that hip under you. Keep the left thigh down. That leg should not be on the floor. Keep that leg off the floor. Keep the left hip down. Keep your leg straight. So if you can't straighten your leg, give yourself more rope. Lift up the right pelvis. Lift up the right rib cage. Take the right shoulder to the floor. Lift that rib cage using the help of the shoulder blade. Bring that leg up. Put the belt in your left hand. Roll your left toes over so that the little toe is at the floor. Take that leg across. Straighten both legs straight. Lee, put your belt in your left hand and the right, okay, yeah, you're right. And the right shoulder is on the floor. Open up your chest so that the ribs, the pelvis, all roll toward the right. Use the left shoulder on the floor to help lift that part of your rib cage. Open your chest. And come back up. And then bend your knee. Stretch the left leg. Bend your knee. Bend your knee into your trunk. And then release it. Let it go back to the wall. The feet. Now the toes all are straight up. And let that foot go down to the floor. And join your feet. And bend your knees a little bit, getting closer to the wall, so that as you straighten them, then the hip and the shoulder blades, that flesh of the hip and the shoulder blades is drawn downward. And rest there for a moment. Now, keeping awareness on your right leg, your right thigh down. Begin to draw the left leg up, sliding it up the mat, bringing it up toward your chest. And if you're doing well with that right thigh down, use your fingers, your cupped fingers behind your knee, drawing that in. Shoulders go down, the right thigh stays down. Breathe. Now take your belt, Put it on your foot. Extend that leg straight. Keep your right thigh down. Keep your right foot pressing the wall. Keep the right thigh down. Loosen the belt so that you can straighten the left leg. For those who find that easy and no challenge, move the leg up toward your head until you do feel a challenge, but pay attention to the right leg. Keep your leg straight. No matter what, keep that leg straight. And the right thigh down. Now, we're going to take the belt in your left hand and bring that leg out to the side, lifting the left hip, lifting the right ribs, using that right shoulder blade on the floor to help you lift your chest and breathe. Right foot pressing the wall or at attention, very strong. Right thigh down. Roll your trunk toward the right. Breathe. Bring it up. Change sides. Go across. So the belt is in your right hand. The toes went to the side. You went across. Feel that strong stretch on that outer thigh. Roll your trunk the opposite direction. Shoulders down, chest up. And then come back up. And release that. Adjust your feet. Get that nice traction at the wall. Both feet at the wall now. Bend your knee and come down. Get that nice traction at the wall. And then roll on your side. And bring your lay down on your floor. And I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. We're going to do Anatasana again. I'm going to ask you to lay on the edge of your sticky mat. So as you lay down, you're going to put your ankle and your leg, your hip, you're going to need your strap, your hip, your armpit, your arm, all on the edge of your mat. And you can rest your head on your arm. Now, for a lot of people, getting this armpit to extend that much can take some time. It's persistence. Unless you have some kind of an injury, or if you've got arthritis or something, that's a different story. But otherwise, this is a very healthy thing for you to do. Now, when we lift the leg, okay, so now take this top leg and lay it on top of the bottom leg, and that changes our world. For this pose, to gain your balance and your stability in this pose, first of all, the chest has to lift. So lift your chest. Take your pelvis, firm your pelvis. At this point, it's just stability. But once you bring your leg up, the leg has to go back. So your hip has to move forward against it, and the trunk action has to get stronger. So let's practice that. Oh, and the heel of the foot on the floor. Stretch the heel toward the floor. Draw the pelvis forward, the thighs back.
And your heel, the heel itself, it depends on everybody's shape. You know, we're all a little different. But the point is that we've got a lot more front foot than we do back foot. If you depend on that, you will not be able to balance, right? So you're going to press your leg down, bend that knee up, and take the knee to the side, your side. You're just going to keep the head down. Now, if you're just flopping around on the floor like a fish on dry land, bend your bottom knee. If you're just having a great struggle, then continue your struggle. But if you're just getting nowhere, then bend your bottom knee. Now, if that's going well, you can take your strap. Finding your foot without losing your balance can be a big challenge. I know. This is great fun. Then straightening your leg. Now, here we go. That side of the foot toward the heel has to be on the floor. As the leg pulls back, the hip has to counter that action. You see how it goes? If your leg comes forward, your hip goes back and you lose. If your leg goes too far back, you lose. So there has to be a balance between what the leg and the hip are doing. And that takes some work and some practice and some rolling over. And then the upper chest, lift your chest. Get the awareness all along the side of the body that's on the floor. Press the ball of the big toe up. That leg goes back toward the wall and the hip goes away. And come down. Now, in order to save some time, we're going to repeat on the same side and then turn. Bring your hand up. It's shaped like this so that the thumb is away from all the fingers. And the ear goes in that little spot on that side. So put your left ear in your left hand. Now that makes everybody's armpit comes up, right? And that is a challenge. And I worked with it by using my other hand just to scoot my arm further forward over time. So it's okay to use two hands. Get yourself aligned. If this is, again, it depends on the level of challenge. This is a challenging pose. It's challenging to your balance, number one, and it's challenging to your pliability, number two. So do what you need to do to make it work. Again, if you're rolling around, bend your bottom knee so that you've got some stability there. Bring that foot up. Catch your foot with the belt. Now, one thing I have found helpful, right now my elbow is against my inner knee. Push the hip forward and push the knee back. Keep your knee bent. Keep your knee bent right now. Push the knee back, push the hip forward. And then straighten your leg using that same action at the knee to keep the leg back and help the hip go forward. Okay, come down. Let's change. You know, until I taught yoga to children, I never really understood the fun of falling out of a pose. They think that's part of the deal. They love that part. Lay yourself down along your mat. We're going to run overtime a few minutes. I'm sorry, we got a late start. So lay yourself down so that your armpit, your rib cage, your hips, your thighs, your legs, ankles are all on the mat. get that contact now between the shoulder. This will be now your right shoulder, the one that's on the ground. The shoulder that's on the ground, pull it down, lift your chest. Feel the action at the hip. When you're ready, stack one leg on top of the other. Work with balance that way. Find that strength that you do have, but when would you have ever learned it, right? No way you should know. Work on it. So then take the top leg, take the knee up, open up the hip, pull that knee up high as you can, and maintain your balance. See if you can do it without another hand on the floor, but use the hand if you need it. Because we have to learn. And we have to make it doable to learn it. If it's impossible, we can't learn it. So then, depending on how you're going, you can go ahead, put the belt on the foot, should be your left leg, and lift it up. And as you do that, that hip needs to go forward and the leg needs to go back. If you like using the elbow as a guide, I find that very helpful as well. Keep breathing, and then come down. Now, we're going to bend the right arm. So before you put your head in, you may be helpful, for me it's helpful, to really extend that arm on the floor, put the hand, extend again, and then stretch through that shoulder to bring that armpit down. Check the rest of your alignment. Legs have to be straight. You have to have the stability through the back body. That's true in every single pose that I can think of. So find the stability through the back body. Yes, of course, the front body helps. Abdomen has to be firm. Chest has to be lifted. Okay. Now, if that's going well, you can bend the knee. You could stop right here and just work at bringing the knee back and the hip forward. You could bend the lower knee and work on that while sustaining the stretch in the armpit. How much can you do at one time, really, when you're learning? All right, but if things are going well for you, then you catch your foot, belt, stretch your leg up, draw that knee back, hip forward, draw that shoulder, left shoulder down into the socket, lift your chest, press the right shoulder down, lift your chest. Come on, hip, get in there. There it is. Now, I think you should have fun with this pose at the same time you meet the challenge. It's wobbly. Okay, come down. And then roll over. I had another 15, 20 minutes planned, but instead we're going to lay down. We're just going to lay down and put our legs up the wall. No mat, no nothing. Just turn around. Scoot your hips up to the wall. Start with one hip up the wall a little bit. If you want your hips at the wall, your hips don't have to be right at the wall. Your legs need to be straight. So lay yourself down, roll over, get your legs up the wall, move your hips in as much as possible, and keep the legs straight. Remember that lengthening we had on the hips? lift your hips up a moment, place them down. Now you're going to feel the weight at the upper pelvis. Take that pelvis, tip it so that the upper pelvis lifts slightly and the pubic bone and tailbone come parallel to the floor. Tuck your shoulders under you till they're flat. Press the wall with both legs just for a moment to get yourself well adjusted. Now you can take off your glasses because this is the rest for the class. Rest with your legs up the wall. So now that we've taken the time to adjust ourselves, you can close your eyes. We want to keep as much action in the legs as needed to keep them straight and on the wall. But we don't want to overwork here. This is not Shavasana, but it is a relaxation. So draw the thighs down into the hip socket. Draw the hip sockets toward the floor so the pelvis feels more level, or the upper pelvis is slightly lifted from the floor. Slightly is important there. You want the bowl of your pelvis to be parallel to the floor. Allow yourself to soften and rest from all of these challenging, fun things that we've been doing. Let your legs now, first of all, take an inhale. As you exhale, pay more attention now to the tailbone toward the floor. And take your legs as far apart as you can comfortably. Stretch out through the heels, pull the toes back, keep the pelvis parallel. The front of the pelvis, that line is parallel to the floor. Feet are extended. There's no change from the hip socket up. So notice what your body does to accommodate this movement. It will probably do stuff. So adjust so that you can find your maximum movement. It should not be painful, it should be stretching. Tighten the outer hips. Remember how we do that? Contract those outer hips to relieve the inner groins. Tightness on the outside of the hip, outside of the leg, relieves the inside. And then accept what you've got for a few breaths. Then we're going to maintain that. So firm your body now, firm your trunk, draw your legs up. It's the hardest part, isn't it? Using those inner legs to draw it up. Now adjust your pelvis again. Make sure it's in neutral. Neutral meaning the bowl of the pelvis, the bowl that's made by the bones around the sides and at the bottom, is parallel to the floor. Keep that, bend your knees. Now keep the pelvis, don't let it roll into the lumbar. Keep your chest lifted, bend your knees, press your feet to the floor. Feel a little of the sensation you felt when we had our legs straight. You can feel maybe the hips or the skin at your sacrum pulling down, the shoulder blades pulling down, the legs stretching. The knees do not have to be touching, but don't let them be wider than your body. Now bring your right arm up above your head. Just walk your feet over to the right. Roll on your right side. Push up to sitting. Grab your blanket, put it on the floor. Where you just were, crawl around, lay down for Shavasana. It's gonna be a short one. We're running way out of time. But lay down for just a moment. So this is one of those hurry up and relax Shavasanas. Lay down. The blanket touches the top of the shoulders. The shoulders are on the floor. See if you can recreate that feeling of downward tension on the shoulder blades. So the chest lifts. See if you can recreate that feeling of downward action in the hips. Bowl of the pelvis is level. Keep your feet joined till you get yourself settled so that you know what the center line is. And then once you're settled, close your eyes slowly. And on an exhale, allow your legs to relax deep into the hip socket. Relax up and soften through the pelvis, the hips. Take a breath a little bit bigger than usual. To inhale and feel your rib cage move. As you exhale, feel the ribs soften down. Another inhale, slightly bigger than usual. As you exhale, even though the chest is supported by the shoulder blades, relax the chest. Relax your shoulders. As you inhale, feel that lift and spread of the chest, and as you exhale, relax the shoulders again, the neck, the arms, hands and fingers. One more inhale. Purposeful. Imagine you can inhale and your whole head can just soften and expand out like a balloon. No tension at all, just easily fills up with energy. And as you exhale, imagine that your brain could just come down into your body as you exhale. Your head could settle into a nice relaxed place. As you inhale, maintain that relaxed place in your skull, in the bones of your face, and let the brain go back to its place in the head. You may need to practice that a while. That could be a nice focus for your relaxation. Soften your eyes, your jaw. Relax your tongue away from your front teeth and away from the roof of your mouth, and rest. Slow, steady breathing, easy breathing. First few breaths, a little more under your direction, and then let it go and rest in Shavasana. Know that all is well.
Then slowly begin to move your fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. Bend your elbows. Bend your knees one at a time. Stretch your arms as much as you can overhead and roll to your right side. And rest there for a moment. Then roll forward, pushing up with your left and then with your right hand, and sit tall in any comfortable position for just a moment. Goodness, we really ran over. I'm so sorry. Bring your palms together, the thumb side at the sternum. As you lift the chest, descend your shoulders. Inhale, lift the trunk again. And as you exhale, bow your head in gratitude for all the blessings of your life. Namaste. Thank you for coming.